What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Miami. This is season 7, episode 10. And let me say this, Stephanie's behavior is starting to feel like fan behavior. Like, she's never liked Alexia and always thought, like, once I get on the show, I'm going to tell her about herself. Because Stephanie being mad at Alexia or trying to feign like Alexia is bullying her is a reach because, girl, you started it and she just matched your energy and you wasn't ready for the Cuban Barbie to match your energy. But let's get into this review so we can talk about it. Y'all. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just have a few things I want to talk to you guys about. So first up, the schedule change. I hate it, all right? So Real Housewives of Miami will no longer come on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. It will now be coming on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. And then Real Housewives of Orange County will premiere at 8 p.m. on Thursday nights. The only other reason why I can think they're doing this schedule change is that they're trying to get people more interested into the McBee dynasty, because I believe that show would come up on Sunday nights before the King's Court, but nobody is watching that show. Okay, people are more interested in the King's Court, which I don't think a lot of people are watching that show, than they are in the McBee dynasty. So the way the schedule goes now is the McBee dynasty keeps its slot on Sunday nights. Below Deck keeps their slot. But then after them is the McBee dynasty. If you're interested in the Valley, the third part of the reunion airs on Tuesday. And then we have the show that came up on Wednesday, which is Real Housewives of Miami. And then on Thursday night, Real Housewives of Orange County, and then Real Housewives of Miami. I feel like they're just trying to get people interested into the McBee dynasty, but I don't think the climate is allowing that for y'all. And maybe we just need to keep the show online. Because I saw a lot of people saying that they used to watch the show, but on Peacock, or maybe it was Paramount. But I saw a couple of clips of this show and I said, it's not for me. Okay. It's like, and if you don't know what the show is about, it's basically these 4 brothers and they're, trying to navigate life as they run this farm. But the daddy done got caught up with the government for fraud. Okay, and I think right now he is currently like in trial on whether or not. All right, so this is what Google has pulled up. So it says this: the main controversy surrounding the McBee dynasty family and their television show revolves around Stephen McBee Sr., legal issues and conviction for a multi-million-dollar federal crop insurance fraud scheme. It says, it goes on to say, Stephen McBee Sr., the patriarch of the family and a central figure in the reality TV show The McBee Dynasty, The Real American Cowboys, was investigated by the FBI and later pleaded guilty in November of 2024 to 1 count of federal crop fraud. So basically what the man was doing was saying that his crops were destroyed and then they were not destroyed, and recouping the insurance money like a payout. But they're trying to get people invested into the show because nobody is watching, and now they done messed up the schedule, and I definitely want the show to fail because what? Ugh. Annoyed. So then let's talk about Larsa. So if you watched my latest spicy corner for Real Housewives of Miami, people were making fun of Larsa's face, saying there was like too much filler in there. She was on TV, and if I still have the picture saved in my iPad, I'll show it to you guys. But Julia came out in defense of her, and she said this: behind every headline and photo is a human being with a heart. This obsession with tearing women down the moment they look different is toxic, cruel, and beneath all of us. My friend, you have always been stunning inside and out, at Larsa Pippen. Girl, Julia, it's giving lapdog. It's giving pick me. It is. It's giving kiss ass. That's what it's really giving, Julia. Now, Larsa's face did look plump and full, but what she looks like now, it looks like the regular Larsa. The fillers have settled. But I just wanted to give y'all an update about that situation. So continuing on, shouts out to the Brooke Ashley, okay? So I watched her live that she did the other day. So congratulations to her, because she was celebrating 6 years on YouTube, and she was actually at this DirecTV event they had in New York, and she shared some tea on her channel. She spoke to Alexia. She spoke to Guerdy, Wendy Osefu from Real Housewives of Potomac. She also spoke to Lisa from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And it was a very good live. You know, she shared that Alexia took accountability for the way that she behaved this season. And she also teased the reunion. She also spoke to Guerdy, and Guerdy was talking about the reunion as well. So I want to play this clip of Guerdy and Alexia talking to US Weekly, and they're talking about the reunion and somebody dropping like some historic tea or the reunion being historic. So let me play that for you.
What happens in the reunion stays in the reunion.
Yes, but there's something historic. It's going to be Bravo history as far as the news that comes out.
It was a bomb, una bomba. Like Angie and I almost fell off our chair.
No one started coming. We were like this for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know to smile, cringe, like
how do you react to that? Like
just mark our words. It was intense. To the third power.
Yes.
So
and it doesn't involve Guerdy and I.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Cheers to that.
We were bystanders.
Cheers to that, yes.
So I'm really interested in the reunion because I hope they're not hyping it up, because I feel as though y'all are hyping this up just to let us down, because people do that all the time. But I feel like if both of them are like, no girl, it was a bomb, like we were all gagged, we didn't know if we should cringe or we should do that, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like this situation is going to be something that happens between Adriana and Julia, because if Alexia saying it doesn't have anything to do with her, that cancels out Stephanie. Guerdy saying it doesn't have anything to do with her, that doesn't cancel out Julia, because Julia got beef with Adriana. I don't think Kiki is a part of this, even though she had like this cryptic message on her Instagram. I talked about that in my standalone spicy corner. So I'm like, I don't think it's her. Then I don't think it's Marisol either, because Marisol and Adriana decided to be cool. So they're kind of in a neutral place. So I feel like Adriana might throw shade at Marisol at the reunion, but I don't think she gonna really give her that fever the way she gonna give Julia it. And I don't think it's Larsa or Lisa, because Lisa and Larsa to me are the same person, just on different spectrums. They have similar personalities that I believe if one person gagged the other or vice versa, they would have got on the internet and gloated about it. So I definitely feel like this has everything to do with Adriana. Now, I don't know who dropped the bomb. I'm thinking it's Adriana. I would definitely be gagged if it was Julia to Adriana, because I just think Adriana she's smart and very quick, that I feel like she would gag Julia. But I am looking forward to see this historic moment. Now let's talk about the after show. I don't have any recordings, just 3 things I want to talk about. First up, Lisa really is doubling down on being late. She brought up that she texted Guerdy and Alexia, but the truth of the matter is, girl, we know you texted Alexia. Alexia even said it in the episode. Guerdy didn't say anything, or maybe she did and they cut it out, but Guerdy was like, yeah, you did text us. She feels like that's justification for her behavior. At the end of the day, Lisa has lost the privilege, in my opinion, if I was in that friend group, to tell me like, oh, I'm late because, poor time management, or I have some personal stuff going on. No, now you need to explain that personal stuff, because you are coming late at an obnoxious level. Like, you're 2 and 3 hours late. I would stop inviting you to stuff, okay? And I don't think Lisa gets that, because she's self-centered and she don't care about other people's times or what they got going on. And I didn't like that Adriana and Guerdy didn't hold her feet to the fire. You got Adriana being like, well, I know you learned a lesson. Like, this lady's like 3 years old. And Guerdy being like, well, yeah, you did text me. And it's like, and she texted you, let's talk about why you always late. What's going on in your household, girl? Like what's happening? Like what's up? Then the last thing I want to talk about is, the second thing I want to talk about is Julia. I feel like if Julia stays on this show, next season about to be rough for her, because Alexia is starting to get irritated with Julia. And depending on when they film this, which is a couple of months before they film the reunion, I truly believe that she in for a rough season. Because Alexia was just like, I didn't like the fact that she came up to me and told me that they were talking about me, and I just got into the building. Like, there was no hi, no hello. Marisol was trying to help Julia, but even Marisol had to be like, well, no, you right. Even though, because she was like, I thought they were talking about all of us. And she was just like, no, she was talking specifically about me. And so she was like, yeah. And y'all know, if Alexia switches up on you, Marisol gonna switch up on you too. And now that Julia don't got Adriana, I definitely know she's not gonna have nobody else. Maybe Larsa, but Larsa is gonna gonna go where her bread is buttered, and that's with the other women. And finally, let's talk about Adriana calling them the good girls group. She calls herself, Lisa, and Guerdy that, and I think that's going to set them up for failure. I mentioned that in that standalone spicy corner, that them clicking up, I think, is a disaster, because y'all are a group based off of default. Y'all are not a group that is forming because y'all are genuinely like friends with each other. Y'all are forming this group because everybody else has kind of ousted you. I don't believe Lisa is a part of that group either. And I don't like the way that they don't check Lisa, because that's the reason why Lisa is over there. Lisa does not like the fact that the other women are calling her out on her stuff. And she's only over there with Guerdy and Adriana because they don't do it. They don't do it. And the moment they start like pressing Lisa the same way the other women do, she gonna run back over there. So I also think it's not smart to call yourselves the good girls group, because eventually the way that people hate the mean cougars and them clicking up, they're going to start hating y'all, because that's how it always happens. Because the fandoms are fickle. They'll initially like a group because, oh my God, they hate this one group. But then the moment that group starts exhibiting the same behaviors as the group that they hated, they start giving them the same treatment. So I would not call myself that. And another thing, I've gotten several comments about me not liking Guerdy. I never once said I didn't like Guerdy. I just said that I thought she was annoying and irritating. Just because I find somebody annoying and irritating does not mean I dislike them. All right, y'all, so let's get into this episode. So it opens up where we see all the women packing and getting ready to go to Seville. We see Alexia with Frankie, Guerdy with her husband, and we see Lisa bragging about how the girl's going to be hating on her outfits. We find out that Alexia used to live in Spain, specifically Madrid. She was there from the age of 17 to 23, which I was surprised about, because Alexia gave very much born and raised Miami, like I don't leave the country type lady. But it seems like she is truly a world traveler, so kudos to her. Fun fact about Alexia. She also talks about how Madrid is the metropolitan area and Seville, aka Seville, is more of the elderly city. So I'm guessing it's like a slower pace, probably on like the countryside type energy. I think the reason why she was critiquing how Americans say Seville. She was like, it's supposed to be Sevilla, not Seville. But I think the L sound in Spanish is different, because some people who are, I talk to who are Spanish, they don't say Leah, they say Leia. So I'm like, I think it just sounds differently to us. Okay, Alexia, my bad. So we see the women who are not flying on the private jet. They are meeting up at the airport. Their plane is supposed to leave at 4:40 p.m. It is, when we see them, it's 3:49, so basically 4 o'clock. They got 40 something minutes before it's time for them to fly out. And Guerdy makes a statement about like, we don't know where Lisa is. Lisa hasn't even, no, Kiki ends up saying Lisa hasn't even checked her bags yet. And Guerdy was like, everybody knows you're supposed to show up to the airport at least 2 hours early. And she right. She right. I don't play them games. I may be late for other things, but I'm never late for no flight, because I'm not paying for a new flight and I'm not messing up my entire trip. So they're all just like, oh, I hope she make it to the plane. The next scene we see is with the women that are getting on Stephanie's private jet. But before we get there, you hear Marisol in her confessional say, leave it to Lisa to always be late. That's one thing you can count on her for. They then give us the montage of Lisa always being late, and then they just added to it with Stephanie going off on Lisa for the goddess party. So we see Stephanie pull up to the jet. Everybody else is already on the plane except Stephanie. She rolls out with a $70,000 Birkin. She's talking to her driver saying, you know what's in a big Birkin? The little Birkins. And here's the thing I want Stephanie to understand. We love the wealth. We want to see the wealth, but we need you to be like subtle about it. Like the way that Nicole pulled up in a $95,000 Birkin, the vibe was there. It was very subtle. It was very like, oh, okay, girl. Yes, a lady with means. Think about Heather Dubrow. She just dropped $80,000 on a birthday party for herself. Like, we didn't know until they told us, okay? Then you think about how the way the ladies spend their money on Beverly Hills. Same tip, you know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be quiet. Okay, we like quiet luxury. And we only like it when girls start gloating about their luxury if people playing in their faces, you know? So she gets on the plane and they pretend to like turn up, which I don't know. They turn the lights down on the plane. You got Stephanie trying to make drinks for them. And as much as Stephanie keeps saying she doesn't have friends, you can tell that she wants friends. You can tell that she wants to have this energy of like being the life of the party, but it feels forced. I wonder if her sisters were like her only friends, because a lot of people who grow up in like close families, like their cousins and their siblings are their friends. Like outside people, not so much. And I wonder if that's what Stephanie is struggling with, is that her sisters were her friends and then, you know, they fell out and now she really doesn't have any friends and she's trying to gain that back. So they're on the plane pretending to have a good time. And then they all sit down and we find out that Stephanie ended up gifting them the LED red mask. Mind you, they said that stuff really don't work. There hasn't been any scientific evidence to prove that the red light therapy actually works. So I would be careful with buying them things. You might just be wasting your money. And she also gave them pajamas with the Shojaee name on it. She has on a white one. The rest of the ladies have on black. I would have wanted black and not white, but people were pointing that out on Twitter. Larson's in her confessional being like, girl, is she Oprah? We all getting gifts. And I said, calm down. So then while they're sitting on the plane, she was like, how do you guys feel? And everyone's like, oh, we're so grateful that you chose us to be on this plane. Adriana is like, girl, I'm glad you chose me to live this life that you live in and all of this stuff. And then she brings up how she was a little annoyed that Julia didn't invite her on the plane. So then Stephanie ends up asking, are you too good? Are you too good? Because it seems like there might be some tension here. And they're both like, no, we're good. We're good. But it's very awkward and you can tell that they not good. And so Stephanie was like, well, are y'all sure? Because I could tell, Adriana, you felt some type of way about the whole private jet situation. And Adriana says, well, you know, it's a little hiccup because I felt like, why would you not, like, why would my friend invite me on the plane? And Julia was like, if I had a private jet, I would invite you on the plane, but it was not my invitation to give. So I can understand where Julia is coming from, but girl, we can tell in your body language and the way that you make facial expressions, you did not want to ride on that airplane with Julia. With Adriana, you actually wanted it to be Kiki because for some reason you are really trying to distance yourself from her. And so they give each other like fake hugs. And then in the confessional, you actually hear the producer say, did the thought cross your mind to not take the private plane and without Adriana? And Julia giggles and says no. Like, she really don't fool with Adriana, which is sad because you could tell that Adriana really loved Julia, and for Julia to throw it away for Marisol and Alexia is wild to me. So the conversation continues with Stephanie saying that she wished she could have invited everybody, but because she invited Julia and Larsa, she know Lisa and Guerdy were not going to be a choice for her. They then continue the conversation where I think Julia ends up saying, do you think the other women are talking about us while we're flying on this private jet? And they're like, ooh, probably. They probably hating it. And they show us iPhone footage of them being on of the plane, but in first class. We then see the women in their pajamas. They start talking about cucumber sandwiches because Stephanie says she loves cucumber sandwiches and she actually liked the cucumber sandwiches that Marisol had at her preppy party. So then Larsa ends up saying, what was up with you and Alexia? Because I'm confused as to what y'all were fighting about. So then Stephanie says, well, I told Alexia I feel like she belittles women. Like, I feel like she looks down on women and she belittles them. Julia chimes in and says, do you feel that way? Or like, do you feel like she belittles you, or do you genuinely feel like she belittles women? And Stephanie's like, no, I feel like she belittles women. And Julia said, well, I feel like you should just focus on you and not other women because I don't think she does that. The way Adriana turned and looked at her like, girl, what? What are you talking about? And she was like, Julia, she belittled me for 2 years straight. Now, mind you, I feel like that was a tit for a tat situation when it comes to Adriana and Alexia, but I got where Adriana was coming from because she ends up saying, I don't know what's up with Julia. It feels like she has selective amnesia ever since she became friends with Alexia. And they do show the montage of when Alexia called her a Russian prostitute season 4 when they were playing that game where it was like, if one of you, who out of your group, if they were a prostitute, would make the most money. And Alexia said, well, I know it's Julia because she's Russian. And they have a lot of Russian, I guess, ladies of the nights down in Miami. And that offended Julia, and Adriana had her back. Then they showed when I think that was season 5, Was it season 5? Yeah, I think it was season 5 when Adriana and Alexia were going back and forth because Alexia tried to say that Adriana was sleeping with a married man. So Julia is making a fool of herself, if you ask me. And Adriana is peeping that now that she's friends with Alexia, all of a sudden it's butterflies and rainbows over there. So then Julia ends up saying, I know how y'all feel about Alexia. I know y'all are upset with her, but she's kind of up and down because of her situation with Todd. And I'm not trying to make excuses for her, but then you hear Stephanie say, but you are making excuses for her because Julia ends up saying, but she's genuinely going through a tough situation. Then Stephanie ends up saying, it's not my fault that she lacks humor and is so sensitive. And my thing about it is, Stephanie, for you to constantly say that you're not sensitive and you get bothered by things, the way that you're bothered by Alexia shows that you're sensitive. And also, to me, it gives fan behavior. It feels as though, especially when she went on that monologue about Alexia having a Napoleon complex, it gives that you've been watching this show. You never really liked Alexia, or you liked her, but you felt like you would need to put her in her place in order for y'all to become friends. And now that you're in this group, you're picking at different issues with her that is not your place. It's not your business. So Julia ends up saying, you know what, at the end of the day, I just want to have a good time when we are in Spain. Like, I don't want no issues. I just want to have fun in Spain. So then Julia says in her confessional, Stephanie and Alexia have strong personalities, but hopefully they can get along with each other. They then turn the lights off again and start twerking in the sky. And again, it felt forced. It didn't feel genuine. We then see them putting on their red light mask, and then they all go to sleep on the plane. So we find out when they wake up that they have reached Seville, and Adriana giving us a little history lesson how there's 5 different types of Spanish within their country. And I don't know if she's talking about the Spanish language. I think that's what she's talking about. But there's 5 different ways to speak Spanish in Spain. And she's brought up that there's one type of way that like the S's and things form together, because she said it is thought that the king had a lisp and didn't know how to pronounce words completely, or couldn't pronounce words completely. So that is why that is a new language in Spain. I was like, okay, come on with the education, Adriana. So like I said, the girls have made it to Seville. We see them get into the car. They pull up to the hotel. It's a nice hotel. The B-reel footage of Seville is actually quite pretty. Like, it's a beautiful country. And so Larsa says, you know, she loves Spain. She was like, she loves the people, the music, the clothes, but she definitely loves the food. So she's excited to be there. We then have them getting to the hotel. They're taking shots. I don't know of what they were taking shots of, but it looked good well, I don't even think it's shots. I think it was wine. I think they were giving them wine. We then have the concierge, or the manager of the hotel, Oliver, tells Stephanie that they upgraded her room to the presidential suite. And Julia was like, I did not do that. We find out that Marisol and Alexia have they also have a presidential suite as well. And so Julia was like, I didn't upgrade you. So Stephanie was like, well, it has to be my husband, because it has to be. Now, I'm going to be honest, when they showed the video of her 40th birthday, why did it give me AI vibes? Maybe it was a boomerang, but the way she was moving and the way the dogs were moving, I was like, is this real? I took a screen recording of it, but like, I was like, is this real? Because this don't look real to me, you know, but she turned 40. We end up seeing the room, and I'm going to be honest, I don't believe that Masood did that for her. I actually believe that Stephanie booked that room, told them people, lay down them flowers for me and things of that nature, because I'm like, girl, it felt fake. It felt fake. She was like, I have the best husband in the world, you guys. Like, I love him so dearly. And I was just like, okay, girl. Okay, and then we get this story from Adriana, and this is why when I talked about in the drama video, because I was talking about how Dorit has a memoir coming out, and I was like, I don't think she's that interesting in order to have a memoir, but when I talked about Real Housewives of Miami, I said the 4 women I would want a memoir from is Marisol, Alexia, Adriana, and Guerdy, and one of my reasons for Adriana was I knew Adriana had some crazy raunchy, like, dating stories, and I would love to get into them because she starts explaining how, she had a guy that used to do all those types of things for her. He had a private island in the Bahamas, and he would fly his helicopter from Florida or wherever to that place. She was like, she went out there one day, he picked her up in the helicopter, and then on his way back, he died. After showcasing all this luxury and gifting her all these gifts. And I said, girl, that's a story right there. So the second group has just got to Seville, minus Lisa. We see them paddling to the Sprinter as well, and they talk about the architecture. I found out that Spain is known for their oranges, because Guerdy thought it was a lemon tree that she saw, and then Kiki was like, no, sis, it's an orange tree. So I thought that was a cool fun fact. Then you have Alexia telling them that Lisa just texted her saying that she's getting on the plane at 12 p.m. And everyone's like, ugh, okay. And then you hear Alexia saying in her confessional, I wish Lisa, or I would have appreciated if Lisa would have done a better job communicating to us what's happening. So we end up seeing Stephanie and Larsa sitting at the bar, and they're talking to Oliver, the general manager that greeted them when they got to the hotel. And Stephanie is talking about how great his employee Thomas, is it Thomas or Thomas? I don't think it's Thomas. I think it's Tomas, is because they do a flashback, and him and Stephanie are having a good time laughing, and he's helping her look at her outfits and pick them out and stuff like that. And I think there are certain people who do thrive and do a good job in hospitality. So I thought that was a really nice interaction. So they're both wondering where Julia and Adriana are, and then we see them come down to the bar. So then Stephanie lets it be known that this is like her first trip without her husband, and she was like, it's honestly because I'm obsessed with him. I'm addicted to him. She was like, I like telling him all the things about myself. I like to know what he had for lunch. I just love being in his presence all the time. And I'm gonna be honest, Stephanie, you are not doing a good job refuting them like rumors or them like blind items or lies that people are spreading on Reddit. Because anytime I have met a woman or a man that always has to be around their significant other 24/7, that means you're afraid they're going to leave you or cheat, or you're controlling. It's one or the other. Because she says she hasn't been away from her, like gone on like a trip like that, unless her husband is with her, except one time when she went to Colombia to get a breast reduction. So she's like, I just really want to have a good time with you guys. Then she ends up saying that she wants to have a conversation with Alexia, because she wants Alexia to know that she does not dislike her, but she doesn't like the way that Alexia speaks to her. And she just wants to hash out their differences. And so Julia was like, well, we're all adults. Y'all should be able to have a conversation and hash things out. Then that's when Stephanie goes into that monologue about Alexia having a Napoleon complex, basically, going to sleep every night feeling very inferior, and then waking up and having to put other people down to feel superior or better about yourself. We then see the women walk into the second group, walk into the hotel, and everyone's greeting each other, and immediately Julia makes like a beeline for Alexia, and she was like, get ready, we were talking about you. Now mind you, Julia tried to lie and say that she was like, she did it in a joking way and be like, oh yo, we were just talking about y'all. No, you really like ran back to her like she's your master, or like you were running reconnaissance in the group, like you're a mole and you were reporting for duty. And you just went up to that, like, it was no hi, no hello, no how was the flight, like, are you guys hungry? It was get ready, we were talking about you, to like prepare her to argue with Stephanie. So Alexia is annoyed, and she was like, you know what? They can all go F off. Like she's pissed off about it. Stephanie is like irritated and actually gagged that Julia did something like that. And then you hear Alexia say, I told you not to talk about me, so why are y'all talking about me? So then you hear Adriana in her confessional like, girl, are you a puppy? And I agree with Adriana. Why did you feel the need to do that, Julia? Because Adriana's like, girl, you are like, it's giving that you're Alexia's bitch. Like, what's going on? And I agree, like, there was no need for her to run up to that lady. You just heard Stephanie say that she wanted to take the opportunity to speak to her. And mind you, when I saw the sneak peek, I thought Stephanie was doing the most when she was going off on Julia, but no, it was warranted. Like, you just heard the girl say that she wanted to have a conversation with her and that she does not dislike Alexia. She just doesn't like the way Alexia speaks to her, but she wants to have a conversation with her. Why would you like sully that by already getting Alexia defensive and ready for battle? Unless you wanted to kick up mess. So everybody is just like looking around. Julia is clueless as to Stephanie about to like cuss her out. And they basically tell them like Lisa's not here. So they're like, what do you mean? Because I think it was either Larsa or Stephanie that was like, where's Lisa? And they were like, well, she had to get on the next flight over. And everyone's just like, girl, Lisa, really? Like, Larsa's like, I should have bet money on this because I would have been a millionaire because she's always late. Stephanie is like, honestly, she's going to be late to her own funeral. So then Julia walks away with the other group. And then you hear Stephanie be like, we haven't even been off my plane for 2 hours, and that's how she do me? She was like for real, like, that's how she moving? So okay. Stephanie is pissed. Like, she's really irritated. She's like, we haven't been off the plane for 2 hours and you ran over there and did that even though you knew I wanted to have a conversation with her. Like, why would you pull that type of move? That was like really nasty and dirty. And Adriana ends up saying, girl, I don't know who this new Julia is. I don't even recognize her. We then see Alexia and Marisol looking at their presidential suite and they're excited for the trip. Julia comes back to the bar and she's being real fake, being like, hey y'all, like what are we talking about? And then so Stephanie's like, Julia, and Julia's like, yes, ask me anything. And Stephanie's like, what the hell? Like, why would you do that? Like, I told you I wanted to have a conversation with Alexia. Why would you do something like that? Like, girl, we haven't even been off the plane for 2 hours and this how you do me? You go over there and try to gossip. Then even Larsa is like, yeah, that was disrespectful. Like, why did you do that? But my thing about it is, I think Stephanie feels like because she allowed them on the private jet, that somehow makes them friends and they have this level of like allegiance to each other. And it is giving Stephanie, you trying to buy friends, but like that's not the game of Housewives. Do I think what Julia did was foul? Yeah, because girl, you just went on about like how you wanted this trip to be a good trip for Alexia. Why would you get her defenses up by telling her that y'all were talking about her? And even Stephanie was like, girl, you were the one that was talking about let this be a fun trip. And then you out here just stirring the pot, just stirring it. And she was like, what the hell? So then Larsa says in her confessional, you got to be weary of people who stir the pot and do dirty work because, they're the most dangerous. She was like, Marisol is very dangerous because she's known for doing that type of stuff. So then Julia is telling Stephanie, don't speak to me like that. Watch your attitude. Like, but don't do that with me. And so Stephanie is just like, ugh, okay, Julia. So she says in her confessional, I got a prayer for Julia. She said, it's Lord, baby Jesus, protect us from people with hidden agendas as we strive to be genuine and not be like others or something like that. So now Stephanie is pissed at Julia and she's like, you know what? Cheers for finding out who your real friends are. But I think Stephanie needs to understand, girl, you're not anybody's real friend right now. You're just an associate. They've only known you for about 2 months. So expecting some type of loyalty out of them is a reach, if you ask me. But I do understand her frustrations because why would Julia do that? We then see everybody getting ready for dinner because I think Marisol said dinner is at 6 o'clock. Julia is wearing some snake necklace, which is very much what she's given this season, is a snake. We then find out that Alexia has glam and Marisol is happy because she was like, girl, if I would have did my makeup, I would have looked like Tammy Faye Baker. She was like, I always look like that when I do my makeup. So Marisol talks about how she wants to really distract Alexia. She wants to make Alexia feel better about herself. And she was like, this is what's important. And then Alexia ends up telling Marisol while they're both getting hair and makeup done, she found it very weird that Julia would tell her that the women were talking about her. And Marisol kind of gasped and she was like, well, don't think it's something sinister. Like, let's see what it is before we say that's the type of time and energy she was on. We then see Larsa in her room getting her hair and makeup done. We find out that some man got her phone number and has been calling her to tell her that he has a crush on her, and she's been blocking his number, but it's not working. I hope Marcus didn't leak her number. Or somebody, I don't know, because I would be mad too if someone got my number and I keep blocking them and they keep calling me like some weirdo. I'd be pissed off. But also I would change my number as well and would just have to tell everybody because you're not going to be playing on my phone. Not the phone I pay a bill for. You just not. So then we see this conversation between Stephanie and Larsa where Stephanie was like, I want to tell you something, Larsa, and I don't want you to get defensive. And Larsa's like, what do you want to tell me? And she was like, I think you need to lay off on the athletes for a while and date like a CEO or a businessman. But I feel like you're so hell-bent on being with an athlete. And Larsa's like, no, I'm really open to whatever the universe gives me, you know? And so they start talking, and Larsa's glam is like, honestly, girl, you're a cougar. You like being a MILF. You know? And Larsa's like, no. And then her glam squad is like, let's be honest. If a 75-year-old man with the same money as a 25-year-old man came and hit on you, you're going for the 25-year-old, Larsa. And Larsa started giggling, and she was like, well, that's only because I like to have fun. I still want to go out and party. I don't want to be in bed by 8 o'clock like Stephanie. And Stephanie was like, no, me and Masood hang out until 9:30. And the way that the room started cracking up, because I think one of the glam squad members was like, ooh. And I thought that was funny. And she was just like, well, you know, nothing good. Stephanie's like, nothing good happens at 10 p.m. anyway. I said, okay, you old lady. You old lady. So Stephanie says in her confessionals that Larsa just has really strict requirements when it comes to like what she wants in a like a boyfriend or in a partner. She was like, honestly, she might need like a builder or like a financer or something like that. And Larsa says she's open to whoever that Stephanie like sets her up with. But then later on, she ends up saying, don't get carried away, when I guess production started telling her, well, she's thinking about setting you up with somebody in construction. And she was like, no, ma'am. So then they started talking about Julia. And Stephanie basically says that she was really turned off and actually hurt by what Julia did, because she felt like she was in a safe space to like vent her feelings, and for her to stir the pot like that really pissed her off. Like, it really like drove her nuts. So then she ends up saying that like, I'm the type of person that if you want to like start with me, we can start it. If you want to argue, we can argue. If you want to flip the table, I'm going to flip the table. If you want to go back and forth, I'm going to go back and forth. I'm not going to back down, because that's just not my personality. And I think that's fine when you're in business. Like, especially as a woman, you have to be like about your business. You have to be willing to take it to the extra mile. But if you're trying to have solid friendships with people, you have to learn when to shut up or compromise, or learn when to, like, as they people say, hold what you got in your mouth. Because not everything needs to be said. Some things just need to be inside thoughts, if you ask me. We then see the ladies actually end up going to a restaurant, I think that is a part of the hotel or near the hotel. And we see this flamenco singer named Danny. Baby. When I tell you the way that man was singing, So Marisol says in her confessional, she feels like it is her duty to distract Alexia and make her feel comfortable while they're on their trip. We end up seeing the singer Danny come and sing to Alexia. We find out that Marisol asked the man to sing to her. I'm just going to play the audio for y'all. Let me pull it up. I'm just going to play the audio. Hold up. When I tell you I would have been Larsa, Stephanie, and Adriana, I would have been tickled. Because the whole scene had me gagged. You got Alexia and Marisol breaking down. I mean, breaking down, y'all. Then you have Larsa, Stephanie, and Adriana trying to fight back from laughing. Larsa actually butts out laughing, and I would have been a Larsa. The way me and my friends are set up, we can be so unserious. We would have laughed in that man's face and probably offended him so badly. And I would have hated doing that, but I was like, what is happening? And I was trying to read the words of the song, but I think it was talking about how Alexia has really suffered for love, and that she loved Todd, and how she really wanted to be with him. And, you know, Alexia is just talking about in her confessional how flamenco is like such a significant part of like Madrid or Spain in general, I mean, and how she was like, it comes from the heart. It's about like passion and love and pain. And she was like, it tells a story. Then you have Marisol. I mean, Marisol is crying. And Marisol was like, you know what? I did not tell Danny to give us this tearjerker. I did not tell him to do that. Larsa is like, I don't know what's going on. Okay. I don't. She's like, they break it down. He's screaming. And I said, I would have been no good to nobody. Oh, that man would have wanted to cuss me out because I'd have been crying. So then when he finishes, Alexia and Marisol are like thanking him, like, oh my gosh. And I feel like that man was putting on for the camera because sir, I feel like he felt like it was his big break because the way he was like, Alexia. Oh, it tickled me. It tickled me. So then once the flamenco singer leaves, Julia and Marisol welcome everybody to Seville, and they're talking about how they know how much Alexia needed this, and they just want to make her feel good. Alexia talks about how she loves and appreciates all the support that she's getting from her friends. She ends up saying at the table, it doesn't matter like our differences. I just truly appreciate how you guys have rallied behind me and around me since I've been dealing with this situation with Todd. So then Kiki brings up how like, Alexia, this is nice and all, but where is Lisa right now? Like, where is she? And somebody was like, oh, she on the train. And everyone's like, the train? What do you mean she's on the train? So basically Lisa had to take a plane from Miami to London. Then she had to take a plane to Madrid. And then she had to ride the train from Madrid to Seville. Girl, no ma'am. And it's just like, all of that could have been avoided if you would have just showed up on time. On the time, girl. So then you got Guerdy being like, oh my God, I can only imagine Lisa, lugging around her luggage, being on a train. Like, that's a mess. So the women are all worried about Lisa. Like, just like Guerdy said when she was like, I can only imagine Lisa lugging her suitcases around trying to get on a train and all of that stuff. You have Larsa, Kiki, and Marisol saying pretty much the same thing. They don't know if she's gonna survive. Larsa is like, girl, she might end up in Poland or Italy somewhere. And then you hear what's her name, Adriana, say, don't nobody want to take the train from Madrid to Seville. Like nobody wants to do that. So we also find out that they're going to be doing like flamenco dancing or learning how to flamenco dance. And Stephanie gave Marisol the name to this designer who designs really beautiful flamenco dresses. And so I think Stephanie is the one that ends up saying, so what do we do about Lisa? If she's late, like, what are we going to do? And Marisol was like, we'll make her the last appointment, but if she's late and the lady closes up shop, that's on her. She got to learn somehow. And then Marisol talks about how she actually finds it to be hurtful that Lisa has not contacted them or told them like what's going on. And this is what I was talking about in the spicy corner, where I feel like this could have been the point where Guerdy speaks up and be like, well, she did text me. Or Alexia could have been like, well, she did text. But I guess for them, it's like the principle of the matter is like, you didn't tell the whole entire group that you were late or you were going to be late or what's going on. You're not giving nobody no ETA, and like you're in a foreign country and we know you don't speak the language and nobody is with you. Not even production, because they don't even have film of you lugging your suitcase around trying to get on the train. So Julia is over Lisa. She basically said that Lisa hasn't practiced the proper etiquette. Like, we organized this trip and she has yet to communicate with us like what's happening with her, and I'm over it. So they then start talking about the weird vibe. So Marisol brought it up where she was like, did anybody feel like weird energy when we came in? And you see the girls that were on the private plane being like, what are y'all talking about? And Kiki was like, well, yeah, it did kind of give like y'all had a private plane vibe, private plane, like we the private plane crew. So that's what it was. You could tell that Julia is getting uncomfortable because she knows the argument that's about to ensue is because of what she told Alexia. And so Larsa was like, it was no weird vibe or anything. We were just having a discussion about the relationship between you and Stephanie, Alexia. So then Alexia was like, see, that's the problem I have. Like, I don't get why y'all are talking about me. like the things you're like, you're telling me, I don't get why you're saying these things to me because you don't know me, Stephanie. And I've been in this group long enough to where I can have these types of conversations with these women, but I don't know you. Like, it feels like you're trying to come up in here and trying to shift the dynamic, and that's not what's about to take place. So then after Alexia finishes speaking a little bit, Stephanie's like, okay. She was like, you're not going to tell me how I like change the dynamic or what I can and cannot do to this dynamic. Like, if you were offended, that's pretty much on you. Sometimes the truth hurts. And see, that's what would have got her cussed out if I was Alexia. What we not about to do is you think you can hurt my feelings and not own it and not apologize to me. Or you think you can disrespect me and not own it and not say you're sorry to me. And so they start going back and forth where you end up hearing Alexia say, girl, who do you think you are? And Stephanie was like, I'm Stephanie Shojaee. And then Alexia is like, big shit, I'm Alexia Napala. And so they start going back and forth where Stephanie tells Alexia, like, I think you're very insecure. And Alexia's like, well, no, you look insecure to me. Like, look at yourself. Like, you're the one coming at me. So then Stephanie's like, you have no idea. So then that's when she bangs up on her chest like, I am Alexia. And it didn't even have the effect that I thought it was going to have when they were in the trailer. It just made Stephanie look goofy to me. Like, she wanted a moment. You have Adriana, Larsa, and the rest of the ladies, well, really just Adriana and Larsa laughing at Stephanie because they think it's funny. You got Larsa saying, I've never seen somebody really go toe-to-toe with Alexia because it's brutal. And then you have Adriana saying, well, Alexia calls herself a star. When anytime a girl that's beautiful or younger than her has money in her, more money than her, she has a problem with it. And I don't think Adriana is wrong about that. But in this case, Stephanie started this with Alexia. So Alexia has every right to behave the way that she's behaving and come back at Stephanie. Because, girl, no one asked you for your advice. No one's asking you for it. So then Stephanie and Alexia's argument continues where Alexia basically says, I think you're bothered by my confidence. And then Stephanie's like, you're jealous. Jealousy is a disease. And then you have Alexia saying, girl, well, you're the one who started the problem with me, talking about my husband, about what I got going on. She said, also, girl, you're the one that's trying to buy people's friendships with the plane. Like, what do you do? Like, what were you talking about? And so Stephanie goes around the table being like, did I try to buy you? Did I try to buy you? And they were like, no. And I'm like, yes, you were, Stephanie. And then Stephanie was like, I think Alexia was like, well, girl, I'm just matching your energy. So then Stephanie was like, let's match it. We can match it. And I'm like, well, Stephanie, you can't handle it. You got Julia looking down at the table being like, I didn't think it was going to be this type of argument. Guerdy is like, we only been here for like 20 minutes and y'all already arguing. My God, today. And she was like, girl, this is whatever. They're both yelling back and forth. And then next thing you know, you have Marisol being like, can we stop? Like, can you stop? And she's like, she's telling Alexia to calm down. She's telling Stephanie to calm down. And she ends up being like, how did this all start? Like, how did we get this way? So then Stephanie ends up saying, it started when you called me a big-headed, when you said I was kissing ass, and then you called me a chihuahua. And then Alexia says, I only called you a chihuahua because you said I bark a lot. And you do sound like a chihuahua. And Stephanie was gagged when she said you do sound like a chihuahua. Like, she couldn't believe it. And then Larsa's in her confessional saying they're both arguing about dog breeds. Like, they both have alpha personalities. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is Stephanie is used to being the big dog in the room, but now she's a part of a group where there's another girl who's a big dog. And granted, Alexia does not have the money that Stephanie does, but she has the pull over the group that Stephanie wants. And I think that's what the issue is. Because I do think Stephanie has been trying to find favor with this group by flashing her money around. And I feel like she is kind of irritated that Alexia is not bowing down or kissing the ring the way that Julia, Adriana, and Larsa were when they were on that private jet. But I do think Larsa and Stephanie are cultivating a real relationship. But I just feel like, girl, you started it. So it is what it is. So Alexia ends up telling Stephanie, you're like dangling that plane in our faces like it's some magic carrot and it's not working. Okay, not over here. We're not impressed by it. So then Stephanie was like, Alexia, you're just insecure. And Stephanie is like, are you not exhausted? Like, are you not exhausted? And Alexia's like, you're exhausting. Are you not exhausted? And so they're going back and forth. And then eventually they like apologize to each other. Kiki's in the confessional saying, this is very entertaining. And like, I'm not team anybody. You got Stephanie saying, Alexia, I genuinely like you. And I want us to be cool, but like, I don't like the fact that you called me names. And she was like, the only thing I'll take back is calling Todd trash, because obviously that rubs you the wrong way. And Alexia was like, okay, and I can accept that. And she was like, I can apologize for calling you names pretty much, because you said some things that rubbed me the wrong way. Then Alexia says, I feel like we could be good friends. And then Stephanie was like, I thought we were friends. So it's like, girl, you really do want to be in the clique. You really want them to be your friends. And Alexia was like, I didn't say we weren't friends. I said we would be good friends. Okay. And I was just like, this is a mess. So then Stephanie is in her confessional saying that she wasn't calling Alexia trash. She was only calling Todd trash, and she's team Alexia. She's like, I'm not team Todd. But you have to know, calling that man trash is like calling her trash when you don't know her. It's like you're offending her, because right now Alexia is in this state of mind where she believes that her and Todd are still somewhat a unit. They're still husband and wife. And you constantly coming at him is basically coming at her when she hasn't asked you for opinion. That's just what it is. So Alexia is like, we can move on. Stephanie is like, we can move on as well. We then see Lisa has finally made it to Seville. Her travel time was 23 hours and 47 minutes. Basically a whole day. She traveled for the whole entire day. She talked about how like she couldn't get her bags. It was a lot of stuff going on. We then see her going to Marisol and Alexia's room, and they're like, oh my God, girl, where have you been? And she's like, hey. And both Alexia and Marisol was like, don't give us that. Cut the crap. Like, where have you been? And then Marisol was like, girl, we were worried about you. Like, what the hell happened? And then Lisa's like, pish posh, we don't have to really get into it like that. And then Marisol says in her confessional, this is typical Lisa/monkey behavior. When she's in the wrong, she gets the giggles. She don't really want to talk about what's going on. And so you do see Lisa trying to deflect by being goofy and stuff like that. And they keep are pissed at you. She was like, I'm trying to be positive, you guys. I'm trying to be positive. And they're like, Lisa, like, no accountability. They go back to the narcissist party, and they show when Lisa got like 5 flags because people feel like she doesn't take accountability. And they keep telling her, like, girl, everyone is pissed at you. Like, the girls are really mad that you were late and you didn't let anybody know what was up. And Lisa's like, girl, I don't care. I'm just trying to have a good time. And Alexia is trying to tell her, Lisa, the women think you're rude and disrespectful. Like, why is that not clicking with you? They keep flashing back to the reunion when Andy was pissed at Lisa for being late for the first reunion. And then we also see that she was late to do her confessionals. She was 2 hours late. You hear the producer say, what's the ETA for Lisa? You that late? That disrespectfully late? And so then Lisa says, like, how is me being late a bad thing? Like, it's not like nobody's losing anything from me being late. Like, who cares? Y'all had dinner down at the hotel. And I think that's gross. For real. Like, I think it's inconsiderate, and all the things that they have been saying about Lisa is true. She is self-centered. She is self-absorbed. She does not take accountability, and she expects everybody to just let things go. But when things happen to her, it's a problem, and it's the worst thing in the world. And granted, they all have narcissistic traits that are in this group, but for Lisa not to have no, like, remorse or even feel bad or even try to work on her time management says a lot about her, because it is crazy for you to be like 40 something years old and you are always this late. That's not cute. I would stop inviting you to stuff, because you're not going to always, like, I'm not going to be sitting around waiting for you. I'm just not. And that's how the episode ended. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in them comments below and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.